Hi everyone, Wolfforce here. I just want to make a really quick video talking about different types of taxidermy, so let's get straight into it. First we're going to talk about your traditional taxidermy. This is normally what most people think about when they think of taxidermy. We're going to talk about rugs, shoulder mounts, and life-size mounts. So first, rugs. This guy you see on the floor here is what's known as a rug mount. His body, as you can see, has nothing to it. It's just the skin. Normally, they usually are backed with a felt or other material. Usually it's felt, but as you can see, mine's not. I'll talk more about that later. But the head, in the meantime, is mounted to give it a more lifelike appearance. This is made on a styrofoam form, hard styrofoam. There are no bones in here, there's no flesh in here. His eyes, teeth, and tongue are all fake. There's liners in his ears to keep them upright, and there's no real animal carcass in here. Very old taxidermy may have used carcasses, mainly the skulls, but these days there's fake replicas of everything, even things like noses or paw pads and claws. Next, for shoulder mounts, or pedestal mounts, there's another name. I don't have any examples of it, but it's essentially a partial mount. So these are life-size mounts. These are full body mounts where you can see the whole animal is there. A pedestal mount, or in the case of a shoulder mount, it's cut off at the shoulders. So it would only be the front half of the coyote, the face, the shoulders, usually the front limbs. That may just be, like a bust. Some people also like to be funny and make butt mounts. There's all kinds of different partial mounts. It may be half a body, etc. for display purposes, whatever works best. Finally, there's your life-size mounts, your big guys. These, again, hard styrofoam forms. There's no bodies in there, no skeletons, no bones. They can have a base or they can be without a base, which is known as freestanding. These are life-size mounts, again, and the bases can be simple, like this plain wood base, or they can be more detailed. Like as you can see, this base has a habitat with a rock, water, icicles, dead leaves. Pretty neat. The other thing is they can be freestanding, like I said. This guy does not have a base. He stands up perfectly fine on his own 4 feet. Another common things are sitting or laying down positions. Now, you can buy ones that are ready to be put on a base. So this guy looks like a freestanding until you take a closer look and see that his feet have bolts coming out of them. The reason there's these bolts is so they can be attached to a base. That's how these guys are attached. They have bolts coming out of their feet, or they could have wires, but usually it's bolts, more sturdy. And there's holes drilled into the bases where they're placed in. The reason they may be taken off is it's easier to transport them without the base. Less heavy, less bulky, more simple. Now we're going to move into the less traditional taxidermy. This is stuff that's mostly newer, and it's not as common to come across. So first there's a head-only mount. Now this is very similar to your rug mount in that the head is mounted traditionally, but the rest of the body is left nice and floppy. The only difference is this is not ventrally split down the belly. This is left case-skinned, which means that the whole body is skinned through like a tube. Like you can see here, there's no holes in there. These can be left as is, but usually they're done like this, so they can be made into the next type of mount, which is a soft mount. So, as you can probably already see, soft mounts are floppy. The reason they're floppy is, while the head is mounted traditionally on a nice form with the fake eyes and everything, the body is stuffed with polyfill, or cotton batting, or whatever they happen to use. So, these aren't very common, but they're more like teddy bears, in a sense. They're floppy, they're easy to deal with, they can be posed to an extent. They can be good for movie props, they can be good for photography props, or they could just be nice to have something a little more cuddly around. People are generally more accepting of these than they are of the traditional, stiff, unmoving, unpersonable taxidermy. I'm actually more of a fan of these guys, but these are neat too, and some people just really enjoy them. There's one variation of these called a Poseable soft mount. So Poseable soft mounts are just like the other soft mounts where the body is stuffed with polyfill while the head is traditionally mounted, only they have wires in them. So they have a wire armature so they can be posed and hold that pose. So these are very useful for things like photography. They can be useful as movie props, or they can just be nice to have to put on decoration. Now you can see like this guy's tail is floppy, whereas this guy, well, they're both girls actually, this girl's tail can be posed. The wire armature might only be put in certain parts of the body, like just the legs, just the body, just the head, well, neck technically, or just the tail. And one thing that's interesting is some traditional taxidermy can still use this concept. Like this tail is actually how it's made on a wire, so it can be posed to an extent. All right, now I mentioned that my wolf here doesn't have backing, which is very unusual for a rug mount, and that's going to be talking about something called a headdress. This isn't really taxidermy, but I thought it kind of goes under the same blanket thing, so I'd talk about it. Headdresses are a very old concept, probably, actually I'm sure they outdid taxidermy by a long shot. These were used a lot in spiritual purposes, or rituals, dancing, etc. So it's more than just your normal pelt in that they're typically shaped a little bit. So I'm going to get close to the camera with her. You can see her eye holes were enlarged. This pelt didn't have very good hydration. It didn't want to be shaped very well, but she holds a shape. She also has ties on her so she can be worn, like so. She also has ties on her arms and torso to be tied around your body, but I'm not going to do that in this video because it's too difficult. So these are pelts that are made to be worn. And my wolf here, Gaelic, he actually has his head area hollowed out. I'm not sure if that shows up very well on video, but it's so that he can also be worn like a headdress. So this is a more modern twist on it, while decorating them with things and putting, even leaving in like the teeth and everything is not an original concept. Fully taxidermying them is. So with newer methods anyway. So he also has an elastic band and like so can be worn. As you can tell, he's also kind of heavy and he kind of hurts your head. So that's the only downside to those heavy styrofoam forms versus using just the animal's teeth or skulls or whatever you put in there. So that's a basic overview of different types of taxidermy. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll try my best to answer all questions given. And if you want to just talk about taxidermy because you know a bit more, or leave examples, feel free to talk so in my comment section. I'm sure someone will find it useful. In the meantime, this is Wolfforce, signing out.